And out of this came a variety of local industries. A section of the community was set aside to raise poultry, and eventually this co-op, it was all done in a cooperative way, that the Norvelt poultry farm provided eggs and chicken for many communities in southwestern Pennsylvania. It became one of the major income producers for the community, providing a lot of jobs for individual people, but also providing income for the whole community. There was also a garment factory that was set up where clothing was made, and eventually this garment factory was producing clothing in later years that was part of the war effort in the Second World War. There was a general store at the core of the town. It was a cooperative store. It was owned by the community. It provided both residents in the community as well as outside of the community with consumer products at a reasonable price. And it was provided a service of delivering goods to families that ordered goods either by phone or sent in an order, and food would be delivered from the co-op store. The co-op also had a certain amount of farmland set aside as a dairy, and so it provided jobs in the dairy, provided jobs in the co-op store, provided jobs in the garment factory, provided jobs in the poultry industry, and so there was a significant degree of economic recovery that was part of this event, part of this program. Mrs. Roosevelt was personally deeply involved both in the creation of the first model, sustaining homestead community in West Virginia at Arthurdale, but she was also very closely connected with this community of the Westmoreland homesteads. She visited later in 1934, it was getting started, and then she came back and visited in 1937. And it's wonderful to read the articles in the local newspapers, because when she arrived driving her own car with several individuals that were part of the Washington community with her, and she drove these folks around the town to show them what had been accomplished, took them into various homes of residents of the community, played a significant role in helping the community think in terms of building a new schoolhouse. Up until the late 1930s, the youngsters in the Westmoreland homesteads went to various schools that were part of that area in Westmoreland County. But eventually, by the late 1930s, there were significant numbers of children there to warrant the construction of a new school. And that school that was built in Norvelt still provides the core of the elementary education for the folks in that part of Westmoreland County. In 1937, Mrs. Roosevelt came, and during this visit had a terrific impact on the residents of the community. And shortly thereafter, the community organization decided to have a contest to rename the Westmoreland homesteads. What would be a better name? Should it be a historic name? Should it be the name of the family that originally had owned that tract of land, which was the way Arthurdale got its name in West Virginia. And so there was a contest, and one of the women in the community suggested that the name be Norvelt to honor the role that Eleanor Roosevelt had played in the creation of that village. Over time, the village continued to flourish on its own, and then, of course, World War II had a great impact, and following World War II, with the coal mining industries coming back economically in the war effort, and following that with the rebuilding of the iron and steel industries in the 1950s, the economy of that part of Westmoreland County no longer required the same amount of sort of central decision-making and cooperative organizations. And so over time, Norvelt kept its name as Norvelt, still as a really very smart-looking community. Most of the original houses are lived in by some of the descendants of the original families that owned them. Some of the houses, when you drive around Norvelt, you see that many of these homes had an addition put onto them, maybe an addition, an expansion of the first floor, maybe a expansion of the first and second floor, maybe a carport to meet the growing needs of automobile use. But in fact, it was perhaps one of the most successful projects in trying to address the plight of the poverty associated with the almost collapse of the coal mining industries in Appalachia. Norvelt was only one of these projects. Arthurdale was the first. Norvelt was one in western Pennsylvania. There was another sustained village project that was created also in Pennsylvania in a community called Pencraft. What really came out of this was a heightened sense of being part of a community and an opportunity for individuals whose lives seemed totally dead-ended with the collapse of the coal mining industry to see the opportunities that they might have in branching out of Norvelt and going into other occupations, being trained, going off to post-high school education. And today, if you would drive through Norvelt, you would really appreciate the impact that this particular project of the New Deal had on about 700 families in what was a horribly poverty-filled section of southwestern Pennsylvania.